Hello and welcome to the show. This is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends. And sitting with me is Joe Kelly, Republican candidate for the Board of Estimate and Taxation here in Greenwich. So first thing, please vote. Early voting is open right now. In fact, I'm going to vote right after the show. And secondly, because we love to get all sides of the story, we've got a Republican here, which is very exciting. So, Joe, what brought you to politics? Let's get started at the very beginning.
Well, we can go back. It's community service really got me involved. And at one point, I decided that I broke my life into thirds. You had the first third of your life you learn, second third you earn, and the last third you return. So I'm in the return mode right now. So I've spent much time volunteering for our community in many different capacities in many different ways.
Love it, love it. So you've actually been very involved in the community over years. I know that you coached rugby for years. You just won an award from the Sentinel. You were on the BOE, the Board of Education. And there's a lot of questions we have because there's still a lot of upset about this sort of late night vote of the BET last year affecting the BOE or our education funding. We cut $4 million from the budget. How would you have dealt with that? What would your game plan would have been for that?
Well, that's a great question. I had the fortunate opportunity, as serving as the Board of Education chairman, to have a budget that year. We have a budget every year, and I had one when I was doing it. And the fun thing is what I did, as I usually do in my way, is I reached out and communicated. So what I did is I talked to our superintendent of schools, who was the one responsible for the budget, and I also talked to Dan Ozimir, who was the chairman of the BET at the time, and way early, didn't wait for anyone else to come in with anything. I said, we got to somehow find middle ground. So what we did is we spent months and months working on middle ground, and when it came time to agree, guess what? We're at the same spot. So we entered into the budget process with the exact same number. So guess what? No controversy, no stories in the newspaper, no drama. It was fantastic.
We love no drama. Okay, and this is one of the things that I've known about you from pretty much early, having met you, I think 3 or 4 years ago. But you've been a centrist. You've been a man who says, I want to work to the middle. I want to figure out a way to gain consensus and work across the aisle. Is this still the way you think?
Well, it's working on compromise, but it's also my compass is right and wrong. And if something is right, then we have to work towards what's right, not what some people think or some people tell you you're supposed to think. It's about doing the right thing. And if something's wrong, heck, if somebody wants me to do something wrong, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do the right thing.
Okay, so well then let's tackle some of the long-term big capital issues here that are challenging us. And we really need to get Greenwich set up for the future, for the next generations, which include we need to work on our housing for affordability. We need to work on hardening our sewer system. We need to have better sustainability. And of course, we have flooding issues. So how are you going to tackle these really big issues, especially since it looks like some of this stuff is getting dropped off the budget altogether? So what's your, if you're elected, what would be your...
Well, approving projects is certainly we don't create or present the projects, we approve them. And we could just go down to my experience working on the Board of Education, where we had when I landed there, they had a Cardinal Stadium that was falling apart, held up by these poles that some private organization charitably donated, and we didn't maintain those bleachers to a safe level. So right away, they dropped me in that project, and we drove it to the finish line, got a new Cardinal Stadium set up, no time at all, ahead of schedule, under budget, with cooperation with the whole community. It was great. Everybody worked together on it. And you also noticed that Central Middle School has been built. Have you visited the back of Central Middle School?
Yes, that thing is coming along.
As
it's
the
exciting.
Chairman, we drove that one. Even before that, working together with the rest of the Board of Education, we pushed that along because it needed to be pushed along. We worked in cooperation with the BET, both Republicans and Democrats, and we got that approved. And it's now being built at light speed. I'm on the Central Middle School Building Committee, and we are ahead of or on budget, or actually slightly under budget for now. Let's hope we stay there.
That's amazing.
Are they coming for you? Are they coming for you,
Those
Trevor?
are
They're not coming for
taxpayer
me.
dollars at work.
They're
Yeah,
not
so far
coming
so
for
good
me. I
for
know
me.
that. but I guess the fire department was
We
wanted to
love
say
them.
hello as we're on the radio here.
Exactly.
Yes.
They love our show.
Of course.
But yes, so Central Middle School is moving along, and
Old
thank you.
Greenwich
Old
School, we're
Greenwich.
pushing that. We raced the
Right.
both of them to try to get to the finish line.
Great. And I
It's
really want to
great.
see the rink happen.
The rink too. They keep trying to rope me into the rink, but I stayed focused on the school stuff while I was in the schools. Now that I'm taking a broader role, now I have to consider the rink, and certainly I support that. These capital projects need to be done. We're a great town. We deserve nice things in this beautiful town.
We absolutely do. Okay, so how do you feel about long-term debt? Because so far we've only borrowed in 5-year increments. That actually causes those of us who don't have kids in the school to be paying right now for now. Whereas if you bond out 20, 30 years, you could build a school and it gets spaced out over time. And we certainly have a good credit rating here in Greenwich. So how do you feel about that?
Well, personally, I don't have any debt. Personally, I'm a net lender. So I'm not a big proponent of debt personally. I don't like the fact that our government is $37 trillion in debt. I don't like that.
Yeah.
All right. But there is a balance to be had. I know that I mentor a bunch of young people in the community. And a lot of times nowadays, people get themselves into a debt problem.
Oh, totally.
And what I do to these kids, I say to them, listen, do me a favor, take your debit card, use cash, and give me your credit card. And what they say to me, the first thing they say to me is, what if I need to buy something I don't have the money for?
Right.
Right.
Although let's get back to, say, hardening the sewer system. It's going to be a probably $50 million problem, and that might be a low just thought for me, from my perspective.
Of course, we have 30-year debt for that.
So yes, that's what
right.
I'm
That makes
suggesting.
sense, of
Is there
course.
some projects that possibly need longer term debt, which we haven't been willing to do through the Board of Estimate and Taxation. However, you, with your years in Wall Street, plus Mate Champ, Alchep, Elliot Alchek, we have some people who are involved that have
And Sally.
and Sally, hopefully, maybe I shouldn't say hopefully, perhaps Sally
Yeah.
should get, but Sally's great too. This is Sally Bednar. She is a woman who's been on Wall Street for decades.
I mentioned her because you know her.
Yes,
of course.
I know Sally. I went to Harvard Business School with her husband. So yes, another great person. So we have some incredible talent right here in our town, and hopefully with our new Board of Estimate and Taxation, we have some people who are really dedicated to bringing these projects to fruition and possibly using longer term
Well,
debt.
Trevor, you say some great names, and we do have 12 really talented people who are running for the BET, and these people are good people. And if these people are able to, if we can bring them together to work as a unit, imagine what we can accomplish. We've got very intelligent people, diversified crowd. We have ideologies that are slightly different, but when it comes to local politics, we're just talking about fixing potholes. We're talking about school buildings. We're talking about ice skating rinks. We're talking about all cool stuff. So if we can take the 12 people, regardless of the party, take these 12 people and utilize their talents and skills, think about what we could accomplish.
It just makes me very hopeful and happy to hear you speak this way, because I feel the same way. And when we can reach across the aisle without, negative public discourse, we're in really good shape, right?
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to pivot a little bit and ask you, some of these federal cuts are going to be impacting Greenwich families right now. In fact, SNAP benefits are going to stop November 1st due to the shutdown. It looks to me about 2% of Greenwich residents use SNAP funding, which is about 1,500 people. How, as a member of the BET, would you help these people out who are in need?
Well, I'm not sure about that specific thing you brought up, but the fun thing is we are a AAA rated credit. So therefore, if we need extra money for different things like you just pointed out, because that's a high priority. If you have people that can't eat and people that need food and that need the most needy of our crowd, certainly as a AAA rated municipality, then we have the ability to help those people. And we certainly need to, and that's what we'll do.
I'm so glad to hear that, because kids have a hard time learning when they're hungry, and I just can't imagine in our beautiful town with so much wealth and just resources that we wouldn't be able to help these.
Well, if I have anything to do with it, nobody's going to go hungry in the town of Greenwich. We have a beautiful town. We have a strong, financially stable town. And if people in our community need something, we are the most philanthropic community, as far as I'm concerned, that I've ever seen. Whenever we need something, whenever we have to go, and I sit on a couple of boards, and those boards I know come to action on a regular basis. Sometimes on some of those boards I sit on, we can't allocate allocate money anywhere because we don't know where to allocate it because there's not enough demand. We might have to reach outside our community at times because we do have really, really great philanthropic folks in this community.
That is important. Now, I was just looking back over your campaign sort of desires here, right? Which is low taxes, but great education. How are you going to deliver that?
Well, certainly my history of working with these schools in the 4 years I did, we had, when I first joined the Board of Education, they told me, Joe, we need you to go because they invited me in. They said about 7 years ago, they said, Joe, can you get involved in our town politics? I said, sure, what do you need? Well, they said, we have a relatively dysfunctional Board of Education. And I said, sure, John, throw me in. So they threw me right into that. And by the time I was the chairman at the end, and it was unique to be elected chairman, I was elected by all the Democrats and the Republicans.
Wow.
Because I worked together with everybody.
We like working together.
Of course.
And so we're going to focus again on the mill rate, which again we're lucky enough in our town to have an incredibly robust grand list. Do you want to tell people what that means? What a robust grand list looks like?
Well, the good thing is the homes are worth more than other places, and there's a lot of reasons why our homes have that Greenwich premium. We love our Greenwich premium here, and there's a lot of reasons. And you did mention about long-term debt. All right, and that's a topic we can circle back on because they're really tied in with your values of your homes. Because we are such a good credit and we're fiscally conservative as a community and have been for 100 years. Basically, our home values are more than others. Basically, we're not pushing out our debt onto our children and the next generation. But there's no reason not to address adjusting the debt when needed. If we have a lot of projects coming through that we say we can't afford, well, you know what? We can afford them. But the problem is we have to analyze our debt. Historically, our forefathers here in Greenwich didn't pass debt on to the next generation, which gives us the opportunity to create debt at this point. So we didn't get it passed on to us. We probably shouldn't pass it on to the next generation. But when we do have assets that need to be improved, we have to analyze our debt structure.
Exactly. And that's really what I want to kind of circle back to, as you're saying, which is we do have some major capital expenditures coming up, and we really need to prioritize and plan for the future. And I do want us to leave our kids with beautiful, up-to-date, ADA compliant schools, rink. Again, we have flooding issues, which are long in the making. I mean, the pipes in our roads are 100
We should be
years
leaders
old.
in ADA.
Yeah.
We should actually,
Absolutely.
the town of Greenwich should be the envy of every community in our state, if not the country, about ADA compliancy. Why we're not, and we have a George Bush, we're talking about giving a statue to him, and he's the one that passed the ADA Act.
That's right.
So, yes, of course. So why aren't we as the Greenwich doing that? And we should. And if I have anything to do with that, then basically I'll certainly put or allocate time and effort into making sure that's done.
That's good to hear. How about sustainability? Are we going to be really committing to putting more solar panels? And you're a guy who's in the energy field, right? You're a uranium. What do you're a trader or you own a company?
Yeah, I own a company that is the world's largest uranium exchange. We operate here in Greenwich, and our employees are from Greenwich. And most people don't understand that millions and millions of pounds of uranium are come through Greenwich on an annual basis.
That's pretty amazing.
Not physically, though,
of
just
course,
paper.
through your exchange. That's good to
right,
hear. I was
through the
about to say, oh
exchange,
no.
Of course.
I actually bought myself a little bit of a uranium ETF this morning because I was reading up on uranium to prepare for the show. So this was a really good thing to understand and get my head wrapped around because we're going to need more nuclear energy going forward. Carbon-free. But also we need to provide energy for AI and for EVs.
Of course.
And all these other things. So back to sustainability. What are you going to do to move those projects forward?
Well, we have a subcommittee on that Central Middle School Building Committee that we're working on the solar panels for the top of the school. So we have our group that's working on that. We'll be providing some of the electricity we consume in that manner. And it is logical use of renewable energies, logical use of being smart about energy, certainly conserving, not keeping windows and doors open, using the right lighting. There's a lot of things we can do, and we should analyze all of that. And there's a lot of savings to be done by doing that. I did serve on our committee that analyzes that for a little while as the Board of Education representative to that committee, and it was certainly enlightening to understand the opportunities we have.
It would be really great as a town if we had sort of some basic sort of ground rules on when we do a new project, that there's a certain amount of it that's going to be sustainable. I don't think we've ever managed to really get to that point. It would be great under your leadership, or as you get involved with this, that we could really start to build that out and have expectations on what we're going to do with these projects.
It's a very good point. Unfortunately, in the past, we had put a few solar panels on some early construction projects and were unable to maintain them because we didn't understand them. We're growing to the point we are now understanding how to maintain this. Our geothermal over at Hamilton Avenue School, I don't think we were able to maintain that properly. We put it in with an optimistic view on how to have renewable energy products, heating and cooling our schools, but unfortunately, we were unable to keep up with the maintenance of that. We're possibly there right now. I know, dealing with our head of facilities at the schools, and now he's evolved to the point where he believes that we can maintain such a unit. So it'll be
important.
exciting. Of course,
that's really great.
Absolutely.
So we are upgrading. We're taking care of that project, right? And it's going to be working for
Hamilton
that
Avenue School.
Hamilton.
Yes, we're going to have geothermal in Hamilton Avenue School. Absolutely. We're using the wells that are already dug.
Because we had some pushback on that. Some people
there was some
wanted
confusion
to
on
move it back to like.
Because you know what? If you try to work on something, it doesn't work properly for a long period of time, then you hesitate to redo it. So it hadn't worked properly when first installed. So the community got together and decided that this is the proper way we want to heat and cool our school, is geothermal. That's halfway built, and then we brought a contractor in to take a look at that, and we have decided as a town to do that. But the town has now evolved in its ability to now maintain it, and that's important. You can't just build something and hope it gets maintained. You have to have the infrastructure there in order to do it.
Of course. So that's long-term planning. Is that going to be an area that you're going to get involved with BET?
Absolutely. It's incredible that projects just disappear from our, I did that. I on the school side, it was kind of weird where I'd sit down and we have all our school projects lined up in a 15-year structure when we wanted to address them, how we had to address them, what you do. I mean, like Julian Curtis, we're addressing that ADA issues now and fixing some issues in the school. But that was built in 1948 and never had any renovations.
Unbelievable, yeah.
So therefore, what you have to do is you have to keep up on the maintenance. And the good thing about in 1948, when we built JC, they built it right. That is a solid school. So what we can do is we're doing the improvements now. We're putting the elevator in. We put the ADA access in the front. Looks great. So we're getting to where we need to be with Julian Curtis. We'll do that with the rest of the fleet.
So we've got Riverside coming up, correct?
Riverside's coming up, and hopefully we can move 1,000 miles an hour forward on that because it needs to be done. Absolutely. With 100% certainty.
I am so glad to hear this, and I'm glad to hear your commitment and your energy behind this. This is a really big deal. And again, as a town, we need to have absolutely first-class schools. And you mentioned our real estate values. That is truly impacted by the schools, the quality of the schools.
Quality of the schools, quality of the town, absolutely.
Young families to our neighborhood.
And cool people like us. We live in this town.
Cool
It brings
people
cooler
like us.
people in, too. Of course. Yes,
Oh,
that's
my
great.
goodness.
Of course, the facilities. And you know what's really good, too, is we have the safest community in the state of Connecticut. All our services
I thought
are great.
Richfield was the safest
No,
town.
we're much safer than Richfield.
Really? Did we?
Oh, yes.
Okay, but we had a problem of cars getting stolen. Is that gone?
Well, they're getting
a little better.
It's a problem we're creating ourselves. If you talk to Chief Heavey, he tells you, don't leave your keys in the car.
People do not leave your keys in the car.
None of the cars are taken without the keys sitting in them.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
I will tell you the second most investigated or reported crime is domestic violence in the town of Greenwich. What are your thoughts on that? How would you tackle that problem?
Well, I guess what I'll do is certainly I've supported. They have the walk every year, which I certainly go to that. And as you know, I mentor young people, and I try my best to work with them. I don't have the skill set you have to do older folks. I know those developing from my coaching many kids over the years. I know that sort of sweet spot of the teens. My wife hates the teens. I love the teens.
Most people really have trouble with teens. So
I'm good with
I'm
the
glad
teens.
that you like the teens.
But moving moving off to the next level. That is an important issue, needs to be addressed. Whatever resources we can allocate to that, we need to address that. It's a problem. It's a quiet problem. And, here we are in a bedroom community where, things don't get mentioned too often. We got to figure out a way of getting this stuff to be talked about so we can address it and fix it.
You're speaking my language. If anybody's tuning in right now, this is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends. I'm sitting with Joe Kelly, Republican candidate for the Board of Estimate and Taxation. We are discussing an issue that I do see in my practice because I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I do a lot of couples work, and this is here. And it's something we definitely need to put more resources and thought into. And
well, you like my energy, so tell me
do
how I
like
can
your
help
energy.
in your world. I'm not from your world. I know you entered into my world with your uranium purchase just recently.
I just did it this morning.
Welcome to my world, and I can help you in that one.
I love
Why
that.
don't we share expertise? You tell me how I can help our community, because I really want to give back, because as I said, this is the last third of my life. I want to give back as much as I possibly can. I will join your cause if you could just tell me how.
That is wonderful. Well, the YWCA is doing a whole lot of really great things. There was at one point we got, they did not get the funding for sexual assault grant that they really needed. That was cut. So hopefully we can revisit. But they did get funds from the state, and that came from Rachel Conda, Hector, our group up there who got us some funds to do some construction and renovation for the YWCA, which is really cool. So we have still work to do. I'm a believer in, again, very hopeful when we work across the aisle. And we see this as a team sport, again, right? You're a coach, that we can make things happen. And when we fight and we're putting each other down and making it difficult to listen and learn, we don't get anywhere. So.
Well, it's true. I mean, you mentioned a part of the delegation that represents Connecticut up in Hartford. And I'm sure Ryan Fazio and Tina Corpus also contributes to many of our causes. So, I mean, I only say that because you talk about working together. And as Steve Meskis will tell you, we're friends. We talk quite
Steve's
regularly.
great.
He's my 150th representative. That's
Yes,
where I
he
live.
is.
So I talk often with him about the perspective of Republicans on some of the things he's dealing with. And as I said, Tina and Ryan have to be mentioned in the same discussion because the only way we can get the most productivity out of our community is by working together.
Yes,
so our delegation
absolutely.
is 4 people, so we should try to mention them every
All
time.
of them. Good point. Thank you. And I'm hoping, well, Ryan's been on the show. Maybe Tina will come. I'll have to invite her. So, yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Working together is key.
Working together is key. So just a little talk to me about your future. Oh, God, we only have a couple minutes. Well, even less than that. What's next for Joe Kelly once we get through the BET and in 2 years? Are you going to run for first selectman?
Well, what I do is I really work with things I'm asked to do because in the volunteer life, if I've got to force my way into a position, I probably shouldn't be doing it. So everything I've done so far, I've been asked to do it. So I'll continue to listen to what the community might want me to do and my peers and friends and people like you, Trevor, who might say you might want to think about doing that. Then I'll certainly consider that. But in my volunteer life, work-wise, that's different. I've forced my way into a lot of positions that benefited those around me and myself. In my volunteer life, I'll do what the community would ask me to do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Joe Kelly, for being on the show. We're going to go to a station break. This is WGCH. We'll be right back.